After you've looked at your requirements and what you're going to need for hosting, you can begin the search to find a web host to provide hosting for your website. You can, of course, host it yourself if you do have a web server set up, but then you need to have constant access to it, as well as there's a whole bunch of configuration. And usually it's just better just to purchase hosting. So again, there's a lot of considerations to look at when you are looking at hosting. So just make sure that they do have proper support, that you're able to access the site. Right now, most of the hosts, they don't limit you on bandwidth, they don't limit you on disk space. But again, make sure that you do have the availability for the disk space and the bandwidth. Also look at your email accounts. Preferably try to find a host that has cPanel, because cPanel is very user-friendly. It's also got good options for web traffic, so you're able to see different stats options. You've got your AW stats, you've got your Webalizer, and this one, because we're just in a demo here, we don't actually have stat access. Another thing to look for is databases. So make sure that you do have, most of them will offer a MySQL database, but if you need any other type of database configuration, make sure that it does have that available. Most commonly, if you are using a PHP host, PHP MyAdmin is a great way to go, because once this opens up, and we don't have a database set up here either, but from here you could simply view all of your database content and update it if you need to, as well as you're able to build out databases. So also look at the files and ease of backup. Also subdomains, redirects, so ease of adding in domains onto your website. And then email accounts, make sure that it does have the proper amount of email accounts, that you're not limited for anything on the email itself. And then again, depending on what your requirements are, you may need to set up cron jobs. So these are jobs that are timed runs of certain code within your website. So you can set a cron job up to run every 5 minutes, 15 minutes. If you want a certain piece of your backend code to run, you can set up a cron job in order to do that as well. Now I myself, I've been through quite a lot of web hosts in the past, and the one that I've been with for the longest is 1&1. I've got several websites that are sitting on 1&1, and I find them to be, the prices are really good, the service is good. I don't really have any downtime. They are very responsive when you contact them. So I find that it's for the money. 1&1 is a really great place to host, and they've got some really good options for your hosting. So when you go to web hosting here, you can see that they do have options for the starter package, which is gives you a limit here of 100 gigabytes of space, allows you to use one website, one database, and so support is included. But when you upgrade to the unlimited packages, you've got unlimited web space, unlimited websites, 20 databases, and this is more than enough stuff to kind of get you started, as well as you've got the 140 click and build apps. And you can also upgrade even further, where you can add in additional more RAM, and you've got the ability to do a site lock, as well as a 1&1 CDN. And CDNs are code paths that can speed up load times. So these are shared code libraries. So if you're using jQuery or Bootstrap, you can use a CDN, and that's going to speed up load time, because when the file loads, if a user is going to your site and your site is using the same CDN as another site that the user might have visited earlier, that version of the code might be cached within that browser, and that speeds up the time. So this gives you the ability to use their CDNs. And also there's the Pro. So again, a few more options, more RAM as well. And these are all going to be shared packages. And then here they've got some more information about the hosting. So again, one-on-one, I think that it's a really good option if you're looking for shared hosting. They also have WordPress hosting. So if we just go over to here, you can see that they've got an option specifically for WordPress, which doesn't mean that you can't do WordPress in the shared hosting, but they do have some updated WordPress options here. So you've got some more things that you can do with WordPress. And then if you do actually need additional server space and server performance, you can go with the virtual servers, which give you the ability to have your own server, your own IP address, and so on. And these aren't going to be shared, so you're going to get better performance. So if you got a really high performance site that's going to need a lot of resources, you can look to these hosting packages. There's also I'm also on Hostface.com, and I just recently signed up with them, and I have to say that they're fantastic as well. Their service has been amazing. They're really responsive, and I had set up actually a Laravel application to run here, and these web Hostface is very accommodating for those types of server-side scripting. And then their cPanel as well. They've got all of the stats, and again, really responsive. Haven't had any issues with them at all. And also they have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so another great resource to have for hosting. So I'm going to list all of these content systems and links to a few of the hosts that I would recommend, but also there's so many hosts out there that you'd have to search around as well to find some that are ideal for you and for the code that you're going to be running. So I'm going to have some suggested hosts within the resource file in the next lecture, but by all means do also check around and find do some comparison with the hosts. And just before I finish up, there are a few things here to look at. So shared hosts are going to be the cheapest one, and this is a shared host, which means that your website is hosted alongside other websites. So the resources are shared resources. So that simply, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to be interfering with somebody else's domain visually, but you are going to be sharing the same server resources. So there's a big the downside of it is performance, and there's also security issues because you are sitting beside the same host. They've got another option here that's reseller hosting. So that's if you actually want to be able to resell your own hosting packages to others. You can sign up for that one. They do have managed VPS hosting, and this one here, VPS is virtual private server. So this is a step up from the shared hosting, where you get your own VPS system, and you're able to scale as well. And basically they're just saying here that if you need more CPU, need more RAM, need more space, there's also packages as well. And you can see it's quite a bit more expensive. You've got the dedicated RAM as well, and the CPU cores, and you also have that private SSL that you can use as well. So the next one is a dedicated. So they have unmanaged VPS. So the difference between managed and unmanaged is that if you've got your own management for your server, then you can go with an unmanaged, but it gives you all the ability to access and manage and modify your requirements as needed. So it's bare, and they give you some information here as well. And then the last one there, they had the dedicated server. So dedicated servers are going to be all to your website. So as opposed to shared, dedicated is going to be all on your own. It means that this server, this machine, is only going to be used by your website. So these are going to be the most expensive packages, and this is going to be across the board for any host provider. So again, assess your needs, determine what you need, and if a host provides you to, most of them will give you the ability to scale up if the need be. So usually I would recommend starting with your minimum requirements and then scaling up from there if the need arises.